Let's just kick things off by saying a massive thank you to everyone who joined me yesterday for the live streamed transfer window that then, without us expecting it, also included Sir Tom Elliott's testimonial, the return of Luca Ercolani for one half only. It was a magnificent spectacle of transfers and football and hero status that has culminated in Sir Tom Elliott finally taking his rightful place on the favoured personnel at Nuneaton Town Football Club. But now we have to focus on the Championship. Hello and welcome to part 90 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we'll do a recap of those transfers that we did on last night's live stream, which is still available to watch on the channel as a video on demand, by the way. The microphone's this side, Secret Talk this way, still available, video on demand on the channel. It's worth a watch, even if you just skip through to Sir Tom Elliott's testimonial. And then we're going to play our first ever game at this level of football away against Crystal Palace on the first day of the new season. So let's get kicked off with the transfers then. There were a lot of them. We kind of use the normal system, so you know how this works. We've signed a lot of good young players, but we've also brought in some first teamers again this year. The players that we've lost, no one massively significant. The only main names that you'll probably recognise on there are two players who've gone out on loan. Jamal Redhead, who, I mean, we were paying him a lot of money and now they're paying him a lot of money, so that allowed us to do a little bit more manoeuvring in the transfer market. Redhead, although he's been a good servant for us for a long time, all the way back to the National League days, he didn't play for us at all last year, really. I think he played as left back on the last day of the season or something along those lines, so it's time to move him on. His contract's up at the end of the season. He can go on loan to Limerick until then. And Philip Burns as well, who's now 22, not really taking the opportunities he's been given over the last several years as sort of first reserve centre-back. So send him off to Derry, give him the opportunity to play some football, prove that he should be getting opportunities when he returns, but more likely he's probably done with us as well. So players coming in. My number one transfer target of the summer was Andrew Skelton. We weren't able to sign him permanently, but we have got him on loan for the season again, like we did 3 times before when he was still at Manchester United. Derby actually bought him from Man United last summer for just £150,000 and then didn't play him. Didn't start a single game for Derby in the Championship last year, which seems mad because he's joined our squad as our best player. So that's terrifying. But we've managed to get him on loan for the season. We're paying him a huge amount of money, nearly £8,000 a week to play for us on loan. But we will, as ever with these loan players, try and bring him in permanently at the end of the year. In fact, I wonder if we can just immediately extend this as a loan to the end of next season on the same deal that we're currently on, because he's just a hero. There you go. We'll make Skelton a 2-year loan and then we'll sign him on a free at the end. That's how Kev does business. We've done the same thing with Ibrahim. If you remember, we sold Ibrahim for £600,000 last summer to Bristol City. They offered him a 3-year contract. We immediately loaned him back for 2 years. We've just extended that loan for the 3rd year. So the story of Namandi Ibrahim is basically going to be he signed for us on a free transfer. We then played him for a year, sold him to Bristol City for £600,000, loaned him back for 3 years without paying any of his wages. And it will probably end with him returning to us on a free transfer again. Bristol City have been absolutely mugged there, and I'm very proud of myself. The rest of these are mostly youngsters who are just going to appear as the season goes on. So as normal, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but there are some first team players hidden away amongst these, and I have to remember what their names are. I know Jonathan Mitchell is our new goalkeeper. So Jonathan Mitchell, 33 years old, probably the last real player we'll ever sign in Backing the Boro. I'll put that out there as a guess now. 3.5 star current ability. So he's better than Parker. He's better than Nadat, arguably. And he's got plenty of experience, mainly in League One for Moneybag Swindon over the last couple of years. But he's been at Millwall, he's been at Wigan, he's been at Burton. He's played lots of Championship football, albeit more often than not as a backup keeper at this level. But he's so much better than the keepers we already had. I know he's a bit old, but we now have a real goalkeeper, and he'll do a job for a year for us. Jake Lang is a new right back, so maybe he'll put a fly in the ointment of the Ibrahim story if he keeps Ibrahim out of the team for this season. Jake Lang's 23 years old, 3.5 star current ability, 4-star potential. Was at Leeds, previously of Ross County, Inverness, various clubs. He's got around a little bit for a 23-year-old, but he's considerably better than Ibrahim as a right back option. We didn't really have a backup right back. Mole, I guess, was the one, but he ain't that good, is he? So Lang comes in to offer some competition for Ibrahim at right back. James Key is in as competition for James Ball, 23-year-old attacking midfielder who can also play on the wings, in midfield, up front. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. Not quite as good as James Ball. Similar kind of level to Albert Richardson, who's here on loan for another season from West Ham. He came in on a 3 transfer from West Brom. Who else are the first teamers? Owen Craigan. Everyone got very excited about Owen Craigan last night. He's not going to go straight into the first team because we need to retrain him into being a central midfielder rather than a defensive midfielder first. Although having him as a defensive midfielder might be handy this season if we decide to switch up to a diamond. If we are just getting absolutely battered week in, week out, Craigan could find himself in the team sooner rather than later. But he's 18 years old, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He's not going to play straight away, but he's come in from Manchester City, I think, on a free transfer, and does look like he's got the potential to be a little bit special for us. For an 18-year-old to already have 2.5-star current ability at this level and still have the potential as well, that's quite rare. To put that into context, he's already a better player than Robbie Nadat, and that's going some. And then last, I think Longdon is another first teamer, 25 years old. He's 3.5-star current ability, central midfielder, can play anywhere up the middle though. Again, bags of experience at this level for Wigan. Started out at Cambridge, big fee back then, certainly a big fee in our world. Lots of game time at Wigan before leaving them last year when they didn't get promoted from League One. I don't think they came up with us. And then lastly, we re-signed Aidan Chambers-Shaw. He's one of the ones who got away. We had him a few years back. He's 22 now. He was shown from our scouts as 5-star potential, which he's not quite got. I don't know if we're actually going to give him any game time. He's not one of our better central midfielders. It's an area where we're very strong. But we had him for a couple of years before Middlesbrough kind of stole him from us because it was another one of these where I forgot to offer him a new contract. And we couldn't really afford to keep him. Couldn't justify paying him the wages he wanted to be a reserve for us. So he went to Middlesbrough. They just sat him in a dark room for a year before loaning him out to Yeovil for a year and then letting him leave. So he's come back. It'll be his final chance with us, certainly. And then I guess we should also just check our released players to see if there's any names that you were keeping an eye on in here. A lot with our transfer policy, there's always a lot of youngsters come in, a lot of youngsters leave. So Clinton Reynolds is gone, Squire Nunu Omar is gone, Jamie Blackford's gone, Jed Hamill's gone. I don't think there's anyone else in there who was ever anywhere near the first team. So looking forward to this season, we have got money in the bank, but we're spending over our wage budget. We need to loan out some of these youngsters. We're usually over our wage budget at this time of year, and we usually get it back down below before the transfer window closes. So that's going to be job number one. Job number two is still trying to convince the board we need a new ground or a stadium expansion. They've said there's no capacity to expand the stadium, and we don't have the money to build a new one. I will ask again, can we build a new stadium, please? Without a rather sizable increase. Well, that's a different reason, because previously you said they couldn't afford it. Yeah, do it for me. My request is valid. We'll be left behind. I mean, seriously, lads. We were maxing out our attendances last year and we've just got promoted. So, no new ground for the time being. I've just annoyed the board a little bit there. I'm not as untouchable as I was before. And then media prediction-wise, the board just want me to battle bravely against relegation or whatever the phrasing is. So it's fine if we get relegated. I'm not going to get fired unless I annoy them about the ground. And the media are predicting a solid last place finish for us. So anything above 24th, even if we get relegated, is going to be considered an overachievement. Bear in mind, we're in a league where there was a £14 million transfer this morning. Our record signing is £8,000. So, this is the team that we're putting out there for the game away against Crystal Palace. We are sticking with what we know for now. If we get absolutely thumped, then we'll revisit and rethink and decide what we're going to do. As you can see, Fletcher, Barber, they're back on loan for another season as well. Most of our loanees are back. In fact, maybe all of the loanees are back. So Mitchell's going to be in goal. A back four of Anderson, Hughes, Sawyer and Ibrahim, with Barber, Fletcher and Skelton in midfield. Ball in behind Weaver and German. Ricky German signed a new deal over the summer because he was on a match highest earner clause, and I was afraid when we brought Skelton in for nearly £8,000 a week, but German agreed to actually loan lower the wage that he was on, remove the highest earner clause, but take a 1-year extension, presumably because he's well aware at age 29 and hitting this level of football for the first time in his life, he's probably going to be a bit out of his depth this year. But you never know. He might take to it like a duck to water. And we have got a couple of the new guys on the bench. Jake Lang's down there. Ollie Longden's down there as well. And then there's a few people who are probably feeling a little bit hard done by. Graham White we're actually trying to get rid of because we don't need as many midfielders as we've got. Jay Johnson we paid money for, can't now get anywhere near the team. So I think we've got a really strong squad, particularly in midfield. We're very, very strong. But we're strong in the context of Nuneaton. So we're still considered a League One club reputation-wise, if not a League Two club. So we've got a lot of very good players for compared to the reputation of Nuneaton Town Football Club. Whether this squad is going to look as strong when compared to the rest of the Championship is a different matter. When you think that our best player, star weighting rise, is Skelton, and Skelton couldn't get in Derby's team last year. Now, I think Derby did get promoted last year, so he couldn't get into a team that's now in the Premier League, just like when he was at Man United. So he might still be very, very good, but equally it might just show that we as a club aren't very good. But we'll give it the game, see how we get on. Where's my coffee? I'm a little bit worried. I'm a lot worried for this season. But then we go through this every time we get promoted. Every time we've gone up, you've all said to me, Kev, you can't carry on using this tactic. Kev, you can't carry on just signing youngsters. Kev, sign a goalkeeper. Well, I listened to one of those things. We have signed a goalkeeper. I assume the Mitchell out hashtag's going to start after this match when he does something stupid. Weaver plays it out to Ibrahim, who crosses in towards German, but he can't get anywhere near it. Fletcher to Barber. Skelton on his return to the club finds ball. And it's a big lump forward from Crystal Palace. Away games against Crystal Palace in the Championship upset me a little bit because that's how Posh got relegated from the Championship the last time we were there. An away game against Crystal Palace when we were unjustly relegated in the last minute of the game. And because of that, going away to Palace is always a sad occasion. Luckily, we're getting out of the way on the first day of the season, so when they presumably thump us, we can then spend the rest of the season recovering. Just like with previous first promotion years as well, we're just looking to stick to the Kev ratio this year. If we end the season with as many points as games played, then we should be fine. If we try to avoid losing our away games and try to win some of our home games, we'll generally be okay. Ball, there's space over there for Weaver. Weaver takes a shot and Lee Weaver has scored Nuneaton Town's first ever goal in the second tier of English football. It's Crystal Palace 0, Nuneaton Town 1. Back to back, anybody? Easy peasy. I mean, that's a nice goal. German across the ball. Ball finds Weaver in acres of space. I don't know what they're thinking, leaving Lee Weaver in that much space. He's been banging the goals in for years in the lower leagues. I don't really understand why you don't take him a little bit more seriously. Even the assistant manager comment saying, we're lucky to be ahead. I don't care. I'll take luck. 3 points on the first day of the season would be massive. Anderson with a big cross from deep. Remember, Joe Anderson has now played for us in every playable league apart from the Premier League, and he's still only 27 and still has room to improve. So Joe Anderson might be the first man to ever achieve the wonderful feat of playing for the same club in every playable league in a Kev save. Or probably ever. If you go down to the Conference North, surely no one in history's ever done that. I know there's people who've done it in all 4 league divisions, but surely if you go down to the 6th tier, there's nobody in the history of English football who has played for the same club in all 6 tiers of English football. Surely. This is where you're going to tell me there is somebody. And I'm going to tell you it can't possibly be true. Sawyer, what's he going to do? To Skelton, to Fletcher. Back to Skelton, who fires straight at the keeper. It was a good chance, though. Looking at the clear-cut chances, Palace have had 4. We have had 2. That one from Skelton at the end was our second clear-cut chance. 1-1 at half-time, based on those stats. I can absolutely live with that. It just shows our new keeper's good if they've had 4 clear-cut chances and only scored 1 goal. And that's another save for Mitchell, I think. But then they do score from the rebound. And I guess this is not right. We don't need this player watch on. That's still on from last night's Sir Tom Elliott testimonial when we had Sir Tom Elliott on player watch. But we can probably turn that off now. We don't need to be doing player watch on their goalkeeper. I will turn it off when it lets me get anywhere near it. Right. Dan Fisher is now itching to get on the pitch. and show that he's a championship level striker. Ricky German, not so hot right now. So I think we're going to look to get Dan Fisher on in the near future. But first I want to get rid of this player watch nonsense. Right, that's out of the way. And please don't score again, Palace. Give Fisher a chance to come on and be a hero. You know how Dan Fisher rolls. Right, there is German. He doesn't want Dan Fisher to come on because he knows he'll be coming off. Skelton's got space here if he can get there. He can't quite get there ahead of the Palace defender, but he does win the ball back. Crosses to Weaver, who nods it down to Ball, and that was a thing of beauty. Skelton just showing a never-say-die attitude to close the man down and win the ball. This is brilliant from Skelton. This is why we're paying so much money for him, because he just gets right in there and gets that crossover. Weaver does brilliantly just to nod it over towards Ball, who tucks it away comfortably. And it's now 2-2 on the hour mark. I tell you what, we don't look out of our depth right now. Bearing in mind, none of the new only one of the new signings is in the team. Mitchell is the only one of the new guys who's in the team. I don't count Skelton as a new guy because he's one of ours. So considering this is still largely the team that was in... Certainly, it's largely the League 2 team. That is our League 2 back four, apart from Hughes. Okay, I am gradually improving the team as we go. Ollie Longden's not a defender, is he? He's a midfielder, and I'm not going to bring him on for Sawyer. That seems like silly. We haven't got a left-back to bring on for Anderson, so let's bring Lang on for Ibrahim. And so we've got Dan Fisher on. Dan Fisher, who is closer than anybody to setting the record for all-time top scorer for Nuneaton. I think the record is like 140 goals from Paul Colpin, who used to play for Posh back in the late 80s, early 90s. I guess he went to Nuneaton afterwards, or maybe was at Nuneaton before. But he scored about 140-something goals. I've done some quick addition, and I think Fisher has over 100 league goals for us now. So he needs a couple more good seasons, really. So Dan Fisher needs to show us that he's a championship level striker if he's going to be the one to break the record. 3-2 down, eh? Look how high our defensive line is there. We might not get away with this season, but goodness me, are we going to try? And now let's make our final substitution. We don't need to watch them celebrate. Who have we got who's going to come on and grab us an equaliser? Graham White, Ollie Longden, Jay Johnson, Albert Richardson, they're all midfield players. So it's going to be Skelton or Fletcher who comes off. I guess we take off Skelton. And should we have a look at Ollie Longden as he's the new guy? And we'll see if that is enough to grab us an equaliser. So 2 new players now on the pitch, and they're just combined with a throw on. And there's Lang again. Big ball forward towards absolutely nobody. Longden doesn't close down in midfield. There you go. Don't like either of them. Bin them both off. Bring back our own players. Come on, let's have an equaliser. I want Dan Fisher to grab the equaliser because I can't think of 3 people I'd rather have score on our first day in the Championship than Weaver, Ball and Fisher, because they've been so instrumental in dragging us up certainly last season. Hughes has picked up an injury. Mitchell's just done a fairly good double save. They were just both kicked at his shins, but Robbie would have got out of the way. We all know he would. Palace have had 11 chances now. I don't think we can overstate how well Mitchell must have played to keep this as competitive as it looks. Although we've had 7 chances, so it's just been a very open game. I'm not that disappointed with that as an opening day of the season. I think there's a lot of positives we can take out of that. Obviously, defensively, we have problems, but we knew that already. Once we can get to the point where we're scoring more than the opposition again, we should be fine. I hope. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.